the back side of our legs. With the Rollga, you're able to dig a little bit more effectively, which may mean you want less pressure. This is a soft to medium roller, so it's going to be a little bit more kind to your legs, but still, be careful. Add pressure as you see that you can. I take the roller first, and I'm going to put it underneath my ankles, and then I lift up. That'll help you gauge how much pressure you can tolerate. If you're still good, then you're gonna do the same thing. You're gonna take it down by your calf and lift up. If you're still okay, then we get to move. I'm not letting my shoulders sag. I'm going into a really good reverse plank. Then I'm gonna pull through to my ankle using my tummy and push back out again. I'm keeping my toes vertical, not allowing them to shift side to side, only back and forth. After you do 4 to 6 passes that way, then we're gonna work on the lateral part of the muscle. I have to have more pressure for that. So you could do this if you need less pressure. If you can tolerate more pressure, you're going to cross your right leg over your left, lift up, and then shift your body weight to the left. From there, I roll to just below the back of my knee and all the way up to above my ankle. And I press out and I pull in. Now to activate the calf while we roll it, we point our toes. That will make it more intense. So if you were like, this is fine, then you don't have to add on. But if you need more, then you're going to point your toes. And again, 4 to 6 passes on that lateral side of your calf. Then you'll go down and you're going to shift to the inside part of your calf. Again, I like more pressure. So I'm crossing my right leg over my left. I'm pointing my toes, and then I'm gonna go down and up. Now for this one, you want to make sure you're getting this part of your ankle because that is the muscle that's gonna be tender. It affects how your ankle works. So we wanna make sure we get it to relax and enjoy the pressure as much as we can. If zone 3 is too much for that, you can always move to zone 1 and do it from zone 1. That's a little more kind if that's really sensitive for you. Again, 4 to 6 passes on the inside part of your calf. Then after you've completed both legs, we move to the hamstring. With the hamstring, 2 legs at the same time is more kind. Same thing, you push all the way down to your glutes, you pull all the way up to the back of your knee. That's not enough pressure for me. I usually use my hamstrings for all of the Pilates exercises, and still, it's not bothering me. So I'm gonna cross my right leg over my left. I'm gonna roll in zone 3, down to my knee and back up to my glute. The first position is keeping my toes pointed up. The second one is again, that lateral movement with weight. And with this one, we get to play with our feet. So we can have our toes pointed and flex. So I tell my clients it's like flipping our fins, right? It's like a mermaid tail. And I'm rolling down and I'm pressing through. And because I'm moving my feet, I'm getting more of that hamstring activation. Same thing, you can do the inside thigh. It looks more like a Captain Morgan stance. And then you're gonna press and pull through. It's not a big movement when you get to the inner thigh because we'll do adductors separately. 4 to 6 passes, up and down, both sides. Then we move to the outside of our thigh, the IT band. This is the one that everybody avoids. It's miserable. No one enjoys it. But I will say the more you do it, the less unpleasant it feels. You may have to start in zone 1 if that is too much pressure to do zone 3. I like zone 3. I line up the middle of my thigh in zone 3, and then I'm gonna go down to a forearm side plank. From here, there are levels, many levels. If you want an easy way out, you're gonna have a break leg. That way, if you start to roll and it's too much pressure, you press through that foot and you can come right out of it. If you're okay with the pressure and you know, then that leg gets to stack on top of the other one. You point your toes, and then I'm using this arm and this hand to pull me down towards my knee and then back towards my hip. Not on the hip bone, not on the knee socket, but close to both. You're gonna notice more pressure towards the hip or towards the knee or both, because that IT band pulls on both of those joints. I'm keeping my body perfectly perpendicular to the floor. A lot of times our bodies will shift back or forward to avoid what it doesn't like, and so we don't want it to cheat. Then you're going to roll the roller to the middle of your thigh, keep your toes pointed, and you're going to lift and lower your top leg. It just enhances the stretch part of the roll. From there, I'm going to shift my body weight a little bit forward and roll down and up, and then back to center. If you can tolerate more pressure, you get to flip your fin while you roll, or if you're a masochist, you get to really swim. So you're pulling that fin back as you roll up and down. This is not for the person who's new to rolling. This is for the person who rolls all the time and needs extra, because it will make you hold your breath. If you hold your breath, it makes it worse. Your muscles will lock up, so you have to breathe. I don't care how bad it gets. It's better to stop than to hold your breath. Again, 4 to 6 passes, and then you see how your other side is. For glutes, you put your tailbone in zone 1, and then zone 2s are sitting just on either side on your glutes. From here, we decide how much pressure we like. So I could just rock gently back and forth over my glutes. And if that is enough for you, good for you. Enjoy it. If it is not enough for you, then there's more. We get to cross one leg over the other leg. And then you see how my calf wanted to wander. It has to go back in line with the rest of my leg. So my ankle is in line with my knee, which is in line with my hip. From there, I pull these toes towards me. When you dorsiflex your foot like that, or throw on the brakes, it activates that glute. So I rotate my body towards the leg that I crossed over, and then I start to roll up and down. And that just got more intense. So if you're thinking, that was a bad choice, then you can put your foot back down and go back to just rocking back and forth. Otherwise, you get to join me and get the whole outer side of that glute. So we have 3 glutes, and this one is going to get all 3. Check all those boxes. 4 to 6 passes up and down. And again, you want to dig where you feel the most tender, because why are we doing this if we're not trying to make that better, right? Then you would uncross and you would recross, and you would do the same thing on the other side. The other way that you can get your glutes is to put both of your glutes in the ridge of zone 3. Once you've found that spot, sometimes it takes a little wiggling, you can do the same thing that we did last time, just starting with the wiggle. So I'm just rocking side to side as far as I can go with control, which may be more on one side than the other if your hips are anything like mine. Then you can do the same thing. You can cross that leg up. Again, you flex that foot, and then you're gonna rock towards that side. And you would focus then on the glute towards the side of the knee you folded up. You would plant it down, recross, same thing on the other side. Then, in order to get the top part of your glute, that often pulls on your lower back and give you a sore lower back, you're going to roll back. And you're in this bridge position. From here, again, I'm gonna adjust it so I get it just right. I'm squeezing my tummy so that my back isn't arching, and I'm gonna rock side to side one more time. And now that pressure is going on the top of my glute, in my lower back, and then right over my SI joint, which feels lovely. If you have SI joint dysfunction, you know what I'm talking about when you have that pain and tenderness where that joint is on either side. It can be both or one-sided. You'll do this to help with that. You can cross your leg over on the side where you are tender and have the most discomfort. And again, you're just rocking side to side on that SI joint. If you want more pressure, you get to lift up and do it. Now it's harder to rock in this position, right? You gotta be super coordinated, but honestly, just holding it, that pressure on that spot feels really good. For that, you could just breathe. So you would set a timer and breathe 30 seconds to a full minute and allow yourself to relax and melt into the mat. You may have to close your eyes. You may have to find your happy place if it's super tender, or you may have to de-escalate and go down a level. But that is the spot you would want to hold, either on one side or on both, depending on where you feel the discomfort. If you suffer from lower back pain, I don't know anyone who doesn't, honestly. You'll put the roller just above your glutes on that lower part of your back. I've lined up my tailbone with zone 1 so that both of zone 2s hit where my SI joint is and slightly lower. And then from there, if I rock, so I'm holding on to zone 4 so I don't fall off. If I rock gently side to side, it's a lovely lower back massage. And you can decide how high up you need to go. Again, you don't want to get on your sacrum because it's just too bony. You're not really going to help yourself any. But as long as I stay where I can feel meat and I feel the muscle trying to release, then I'm in a good place. It should feel yummy, not painful. So no burning, shooting, ouch. It should feel like you're melting. And then I can pull my knees in for more pressure and then reach my legs away. So it's changing the angle and the pressure level a little bit for me to move my legs out and pull my legs back in. And again, I can push the roller a little bit lower if that spot is a little bit lower, just using my hands to hold it in place while my legs move and enhance the stretch. Your inner thighs will surprise you every time. So be careful. You don't know what you may have done that has gotten them tight. So move slowly. You go down on your stomach. One leg is going straight, and my forearms are here to help me move and navigate the pressure. The roller goes underneath my inner thigh on this side, and I'm putting it on zone 2. If you want less pressure, you're going to put it in one of the ridges, either zone 1 or zone 3. But I want this to dig because I know I need it, and I'm being brave. I'm going to put it on zone 2 for me. From there, I turn my torso to face the mat. I'm grounding myself in my straight leg, and then I'm using my forearms to help push and pull me over that roller. I'm going to go as close to my groin as feels comfortable, and then I'm going to pull as close to my knee as feels comfortable. You're trying to keep the pressure pretty consistent, but if you need more, you can lift up this back leg. So you notice how I flexed my back foot. It's carrying my body weight so that I can shift it more into the leg that's bent. That will make this very intense. So stages, right? Leg down, just a little bit of pressure, then leg up. After you've rolled out your adductor, there's a way you can do some nerve flossing in this position, which feels pretty lovely. If you point your straight leg toes, you'll pull them up towards your glute. Holy smokes, that will make your hamstring activate. Super. Oh my word. If you want your hamstring to stay out of it, you're going to flex your foot and pull it towards your glute. That will be less intense in that way. Either way, it's causing a stretch and activation down the backside of that leg, which is something you won't normally be able to get in other positions. It's allowing this hip to open while the other leg moves. Just make sure that you keep your tummy on. You don't want your back sagging in this position because it could feel very unpleasant if it does so. And then you can alternate between both foot positions if you want the best of both worlds. Now comes the shins. Now with most rollers, you can't roll your shin. You would just be rolling on the bone and be miserable. With the Rollga, you can fit your shins into zone 3 or into zone 1. I prefer zone 3 because it's a little bit deeper. But before we get to them, you can get the outside part. This is sometimes called the point of 100 diseases. And I can see why, because it's super tender. That's where a couple of your muscles intersect. And so it can be a tension point for your body. If you get zone 4, you can press into that. So I'm taking one hand, supporting that knee, and then I'm using zone 4 to apply pressure and then move in a circular motion. You can also circle the opposite way, or you can hold for that pressure. Now, if you lie down, you can do the same thing, but sometimes if it's really tender, you're not gonna want more pressure than that. Then we get to do our shins. As with all of the roller moves, you have to maintain good form. I'm going to put my hands directly underneath my shoulders. I'm gonna press strongly out of my shoulders, and then I'm going to pull my stomach up. My feet are pulling off of the mat, and I'm going to pull my knees in towards my elbows, and then press my knees away. So just below your knee is a good resting point. That pressure isn't going to bother you, and you can decide how much more pressure you can tolerate as you go down. If I point my toes, I'm going to get one sensation from it. If I flex my feet, I'll get a different one. If you have big feet, you won't be able to flex your feet and do this one. You'll have to keep your toes pointed. But if you have small feet, then lucky duck, you get to do both, and actually flexed feet feels better because that is actually activating your shin. You can alternate like you're pedaling as you go up and down, and that will give you something even better. Always press strongly out of your shoulders, keep your waist up, and then 4 to 6 passes total. Our quads are something that we can do both at the same time, or like I always do, I like to do one at a time. I'll demonstrate both at the same time first. You put your knees just below the roller and go into that plank position. Again, pulling your stomach up. You don't want your lower back to sag, and you don't want your shoulders to sag. None of this. From here, you'll pull with your palms and push with your palms. You'll notice that my toes are pointed. That's going to feel a particular way with my legs. If I flex my feet, it's going to feel a different way. So you can play with that lever and see which one feels better for you. I like to do both. Then you can switch to one at a time if you notice that this isn't enough pressure. To do one quad at a time, it's the same mount that we did before. I'm putting my knee just below the roller, and then I'm going to go into that plank. Now from here, I want more pressure, but you could just do it like this, where you're using this leg to push and pull you up the roller. That's going to be a very gentle roll. If you're like me and you like the aggressive one, then this leg reaches up and over the other one. Again, our arms are the leverage, right? They're going to push and pull us through the movement, but all of the pressure is on that quad. If I keep my body facing the mat without rocking side to side, I'm getting the main muscle in the middle, the biceps femoris, which is where a lot of people have problems. That one's usually pretty tight. For me, my tight one is on the outside of my leg. It's the vastus lateralis. So to get that one, I'm bringing my body at a 45-degree angle to the mat. Again, my arms are going to push and pull me up. Do this one carefully. It will surprise you. It starts off gentle, maybe towards your knee, and you can tell it's a little bit tight. The further you get up towards your hip, the more tight it can be. We get a trigger point right here. So be careful. Don't hold your breath. You have to breathe through the movement. And again, just like with the IT band, we can add that push and pull with our feet, that flipping our fin as we roll up and down. You're not going to want to roll into your IT band. You're not going to want to roll forward. It's the 45-degree angle between the two to get that lateral muscle in your quad. 4 to 6 passes, and you better breathe. I have yet to meet a person who hasn't told me that their hip flexors are tight. Yet. Still haven't. Years, still haven't. To get the hip flexor, you're gonna have to put your big girl panties on because it gets intense. You do one leg at a time because otherwise your pubic bone gets caught on it and it's very unpleasant for everyone involved. And boys, you just can always do it with one leg. I'm going to line up zone 3 if I'm being gentle, zone 2 if I'm being brave, into my hip crease. So what that looks like, I've bent this leg beside it and I've let my top foot go flat. I'm enabling a stretch by doing that. When I put my hip flexor there, I get to walk my arms down again to that plank position because it allows me to push up if I feel an emergency. If not, I try to square off my hips as best I can to the mat in front of me. From there, you can roll up and down. You can use your back foot as that lever, pushing and pulling with it to work with your arms. If you want more pressure, then you're going to lift that foot up. It's starting to get real. If you're being very brave today, then you're going to pull those pointed toes towards your glute. You're gonna breathe, because you're gonna really want to hold your breath right about there. And you might use your big people words. So make sure your kids have their earmuffs handy. But more intense is to pulse that while it's open Now, I'm not allowing myself to bend like that over it. I have to keep all of my torso open or it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. You can make it even worse or better, depending on your perspective, by coming up and doing this. Because again, that's making a nice long stretch while I'm adding pressure to that joint. And then I'm going to articulate that muscle while I have that pressure. And I'm going to smile because I'm on camera. Yeah, it's good. And this is my bad side. So if you have a bad side, you start with it. And that way it doesn't surprise you when you do your good side. You're pleasantly surprised when you do your good side. Again, 4 to 6 times, finding the level that is doable for you today. Tomorrow may be different. Yesterday may have been different. Today is a new body. It is a new day. Pick the appropriate level.